Hello students, this video lesson is a brief introduction on Canadian literature. Canada, the second largest country in the world, occupies the topmost position in the northern altitude with distinctive features. Canada, as you see now, is a land of diversified cultures right from indigenous people down to the latest immigrant population. A glance at the landscape of Canada would stun any viewer as nature displays her manifold colors and beauty here. One can see a variety of landscapes which range from lush, moisture-fed rainforests to wind-swept treeless tundra, polar deserts to sun-nourished grain fields, luscious peach orchards to salty windstorms. Canada's weather and climate are influenced by a combination of factors. They include latitude, elevation, slope, pressure and wind patterns, water features, and the orientation of major landform features. Because of Canada's northerly latitude, the sun's rays strike the Earth's surface at a low angle, resulting in winters that are long and cold and summers that are short and warm, obviously not hot. Canada's landscape has always been the center of attraction and imagination to many writers. One can see the beauty of the high hills of Quebec or prairies being transformed into excellent literary pieces loaded with words prompting sensuous display. The vast stretch of land between British Columbia and Ontario comprises an area known as the Canadian Prairies, a 2,000-kilometer valley of plains, forests, and farmland. There are three provinces, Alberta, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan. These regions have long served as the country's breadbasket and have a crucial role in the national economy. Then, to talk about the people of Canada, there are three categories of indigenous people in Canada: Inuit, Métis, and First Nations. The Inuit primarily inhabit the northern regions of Canada. Their homeland includes much of the land, water, and ice contained in the Arctic region. The indigenous people, First Nations, otherwise called Indians, were the original inhabitants of the land occupying territories south of Arctic. Métis people are of mixed European and indigenous ancestry and live mostly in the prairie provinces, Ontario, and also in other parts of the country. Indigenous people have been in Canada since time immemorial. They formed complex social, political, economic, and cultural systems before Europeans came to North America. Colonization and white settlement altered their ways of living forever. Colonial practices and policies such as the Indian Act, reserves, and pass system controlled the indigenous people and had a great impact upon their lifestyle. Racism and acts of segregation limited their access to natural resources, including loss of land, and made them lead pathetic life, affecting generations thereafter. After nearly 4 centuries of constant struggle and deprived rights, all Indigenous people in Canada are now protected by Section 35 of the Constitution Act 1982. Now, with regard to the colonization of Canada, though the Spanish, Portuguese, and Danish tried to occupy the land of Canada, the two major invaders were the French and the British. Between 1534 and 1542, Jacques Cartier, a French explorer, made 3 voyages across the Atlantic, claiming the land for King Francis I of France. Cartier heard 2 captured guides speak the Iroquoian word, the native language word, Kanata, meaning village. By the 1550s, the name of Canada began appearing on maps. In 1604, the first European settlement north of Florida was established by French explorers. The early settlers thought of having landed in West Indies, so they termed the indigenous people Indians. That remained a common term for many tribal communities such as Algonquin, Montagnais, Huron, and Iroquois. Iroquois were the historical enemies of any invasions, especially the French. The French colonization was followed by the British. In the beginning of the 18th century, France and Great Britain battled for control of North America. In 1759, the British defeated the French in the Battle of the Plains of Abraham at Quebec City, marking the end of France's empire in America. During the 19th century, colonial dependence gave way to increasing autonomy for a growing Canada. In 1841, Upper and Lower Canada, now known as Ontario and Quebec, were made a single province by the Act of Union. In the 1860s, a movement for a greater Canadian federation grew out of the need for a common defense, the desire for a national railroad system, and the necessity of finding a solution to the problem of French and British conflict. On July 1, 1867, with passage of the British North America Act, the Dominion of Canada was officially established as a self-governing entity within the British Empire. Canada's transition from a self-governing British colony into a fully independent state was an evolutionary process, so it is impossible to ascribe independence to a particular date. Maybe we can assume what the Supreme Court of Canada reflected on this uncertainty when it said that it was achieved between 1919 and 1931. Now, a brief note on Canadian literature. The first writers of English in Canada were the explorers and British officers who recorded their impressions of the new land in charts, diaries, journals, and letters. The early writings were narratives of travel and exploration. In a way, we can call it exploration literature, detailing the heroic journeys to the vast unknown wilderness and the encounters with the indigenous people. Patriotism and sentimentalism seen in the Victorian poetry influenced the Canadian writers. Later, the writers seemed to create a Canadian canon that depicted the spirit of the nation. Development of Canadian nationalism was the next phase where regionalism came into the scenario, highlighting local conditions. Literary movements outside Canada started influencing the style of writing. Modernism crept into the realm of Canadian literature by 1900, and postmodernism and the theoretical outputs joined hands later. In the present scenario, Canadian themes and plots are unique and experimental, dealing with native, settler, and immigrant mentality, giving space for terms such as garrison mentality and Trishangu. The father of Canadian literature is Major John Richardson. Now, let us have a quick look at the images of the authors whose works are prescribed for study. Edward John Dow Pratt, Margaret Atwood, Patricia Kathleen Page, Robert Crouch, Duncan Campbell Scott, Emily Pauline Johnson, Catherine Parr Traill, Rudy Weeb, Drew Hayden Taylor, Lee Maracle, Margaret Lawrence, and Alice Munro. Let us explore the works of these authors and have the feel of varied Canadian experiences.